Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Today we are looking at a topic that usually sits at the very bottom of the HR priority list.
Way at the bottom.
Yeah, somewhere between ordering new office chairs and, I don't know, updating the holiday party playlist. We're talking about sabbaticals, but we're not talking about them as just a nice-to-have perk for tired employees. We're looking at them as a strategic lever for business survival.
Well, it's a complete reframing of the concept. I mean, usually when executives hear sabbaticals, they just hear expensive vacation.
Right, a cost center.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you look at the data we have today, specifically from Felix Römer's article on smartkeys.org, the math tells a very different story.
And that really is the mission for this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We want to move beyond the wellness buzzwords and look at the hard mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
How do you structure a policy that actually retains top talent without, bankrupting the company? Because there is this weird disconnect in the market right now.
A huge disconnect.
Right? I mean, look at the numbers. 53% of managers claim their organizations offer sabbatical leave.
Sounds pretty good.
It sounds like a majority.
Easy.
But then you dig for the actual paperwork, and only about 5% of U.S. companies have a formal written program.
Huh?
So why is there such a massive gap?
It's the difference between an arrangement and a policy. A lot of that 53% is just ad hoc.
Ah.
It's a manager making a backroom deal with the star engineer who's about to quit. They say, okay, take a month off, just please don't leave. That's not a policy.
That's panic.
That's panic. The 5% figure represents companies that have actually operationalized this. And that gap, that's a massive opportunity for differentiation. You formalize it, you instantly stand out from 95% of the market.
That makes perfect sense. It's the difference between a secret handshake and an actual contract. So let's define the terms properly before we get into the ROI. If I take 3 weeks off to go to Europe, that's just a vacation.
Right.
If I quit to write a novel, that's a career break?
Yeah.
What exactly is a sabbatical in this context?
The definition here is pretty strict. A sabbatical is an employer-approved break, typically lasting longer than 4 weeks, sometimes up to a year. But the critical part is the contract.
The agreement to return.
There is a guaranteed right to return. It preserves the employment relationship. It's a pause button, not a stop button.
And that pause distinction is vital. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. I'm a CFO.
Okay.
I see a line item for an employee who is producing zero output for 3 months. Why on earth should I approve that?
Fair question. The article breaks the ROI down into health, innovation, and retention. Let's tackle health first, because burnout is a term we all throw around.
A lot.
There's actual data on recovery times. And it's striking. The source cites a study showing depression rates drop 29% for every 10 days of vacation.
Wow.
But here's the nuance. A standard 1-week vacation often isn't enough to really hit that reset.
No, you spend the first 3 days decompressing and the last 2 just dreading Monday.
Yeah, exactly. A sabbatical allows for a complete psychological detachment. You restore what the article calls psychological resources.
So when that employee returns, they aren't just rested physically.
No, their entire resilience baseline has reset. They handle conflict better. They navigate stress better. It's like a capacity upgrade. And frankly, a burned out employee is often more expensive than an absent one.
That's a fair point. Presenteeism can be a silent killer. Okay, what about innovation? This one always feels a bit abstract to me.
Yeah.
The idea that sitting on a beach for a month makes you a better coder or a better marketer.
It's less about the beach and more about breaking tunnel vision.
Okay.
If you've been solving the same type of problems for 5 years, your brain optimizes for those patterns. You stop seeing alternatives. Stepping away introduces what Römer calls cognitive diversity. You come back with a different toolkit.
So you're getting diversity of thought higher, but it's the same person you already employ.
That's a great way to put it. You're upgrading their software by letting them disconnect from the network. And then, of course, there's retention.
Right. And this talent war, you can't always win on salary.
No, Google or Apple can always outbid a smaller firm. But time. Time is the one currency that even rich companies are stingy with. The ADP data in the text suggests employees value this as much as a pay raise.
Which is huge.
And it works as a retention hook in 2 ways. First, people stay to get the sabbatical, that golden handcuffs effect. You won't quit in year 4 if a paid break is coming in year 5.
And the second way.
Once they take it, loyalty deepens. They feel the company invested in them as a person, not just a unit of production. It creates a psychological contract.
There was one strategic insight in that why section that I thought was just the most compelling for business leaders.
The stress test.
The stress test.
Yeah.
Exactly. This moves the conversation away from being nice to employees to being good for operations. Can you unpack that?
This is my favorite part of the whole analysis because it turns the absence into an audit.
Yep.
Every company has key person dependencies.
Oh, yeah. The bus factor.
Right, the classic bus factor.
Right.
You have that one VP who knows all the client history, or the one IT guy who knows where the servers are buried.
And if they get hit by a bus?
The company is in real trouble. A sabbatical is a controlled fire drill for that. When a key leader leaves for 3 months, you are forced to fill the gap, and it exposes the cracks immediately.
So you find out what's not documented.
You find out who's been hoarding information. You find out which meetings are actually useless because nobody missed the person who runs them. You're forcing cross-training.
It's a resilience stress test.
It is. And the beauty is you have a safety net. The person is coming back. So you get to test your succession plan, fix the weak spots, and then when the leader returns, the organization is actually more robust.
I love that framing. It validates the policy to the hardest-nosed operator. It's not about kindness, it's about risk mitigation.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move to the nuts and bolts. If you're listening and you want to build this policy, what are the parameters? Let's talk eligibility, duration, and the big one, compensation.
Let's start with eligibility. It has to be objective. You can't make this a top performer only perk.
No, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
It is. So the industry standard is tenure-based. Usually it kicks in between 4 to 10 years of service, and the break itself is usually between 4 weeks and 3 months.
And it's cyclical, right? Every 4 to 7 years.
Yes, it needs to be cyclical.
Okay, let's look at the benchmarks in the article. We've got Adobe, Intel, Workday, Nike, Toggle. How do they compare?
It's a fascinating spectrum. On one end, you have the legacy model. Think Nike or Bank of America. Nike offers 5 weeks, but only after 10 years.
10 years. That's a lifetime in the modern job market.
It is. It's a medal you get for endurance. It's a thank you for your service.
Which is why the tech model is so different.
Very different. Look at Adobe. They use a tiered system. 4 weeks after 5 years, 5 weeks after 10, 6 after 15. They're gamifying retention.
And then there is Toggle. They really stood out to me.
Toggle is the aggressor here. They offer 4 weeks paid after just 3 years.
3 years. That seems incredibly risky. You just get an employee fully ramped up, and then you send them away.
It seems risky, but look at who they're hiring. They're a tech company competing for digital nomads, for young developers. That demographic values flexibility over stability.
This is a recruitment weapon.
A huge one. They're signaling, we understand your lifestyle. Intel has an interesting twist, too, flexibility. You get 4 weeks after 4 years, or you can save it up and take 8 weeks after 7 years.
I like that. Giving the employee agency over the timing is smart.
It is.
Now the million-dollar question. Who pays for this? Paying someone to not work sounds, well, painful.
The article outlines 3 models: paid, unpaid, and the mixed model. Paid is obviously the gold standard. That's your Intel, your Adobe.
Highest morale boost.
But it's expensive. Then you have unpaid, and that seems like a tough sell. Hey, you can take time off, but good luck paying your mortgage.
Yeah, that creates an equity issue, doesn't it?
It does. Only employees with savings can afford to take it. But for a small business, just guaranteeing the job is waiting for them might be all they can offer.
Okay, so what about the mixed model? This sounded like the most practical option.
This is the one I think more companies should explore. You link the compensation to the purpose of the sabbatical.
Oh, interesting.
So if the employee is going to sit on a beach, maybe it's unpaid. If they are volunteering for a nonprofit, maybe it's 50% pay. If they're taking an accredited course that helps the business, maybe it's fully paid.
That aligns the incentives perfectly.
Yeah.
The company pays for what brings value back to the firm.
Exactly. It turns the sabbatical into a partnership agreement.
Okay, so we've designed the policy. Now for implementation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I feel most of these programs fall apart.
The coverage plan.
The coverage plan. The article is very specific that this can't be a surprise.
No, you can't have sabbatical by surprise. The notice period is critical. We're talking 60 to 180 days. But the coverage plan is the actual gatekeeper. A manager shouldn't just say yes.
They should say yes
If you produce a viable coverage plan. And it needs to be granular, not just a list of passwords.
Right.
It's a document listing every key responsibility, who's taking ownership, and this is crucial, the training schedule.
So the employee taking the break has to do the work to make their exit seamless.
They have to. It's the price of admission, and it protects the team left behind. Nothing kills morale faster than the remaining team drowning in work because someone didn't prep properly.
That would create so much resentment.
Your culture benefit becomes a culture killer.
Okay, and while they're gone, what happens to benefits? Non-competes.
Legally, this is important. Health coverage and retirement contributions usually continue, but the contract obligations remain in full force. Confidentiality, IP rights.
You don't want someone using their sabbatical to beta test a startup that competes with you.
It happens more than you'd think. The
Yeah.
policy needs to be explicit. You are still an employee, you are just on leave.
Right. Now, let's talk about the return, the reboarding. The article uses a phrase I liked: don't just throw them back in.
But in reality, that's what usually happens.
You come back, your inbox has 4,000 unread emails, and everyone's waiting for you to fix everything.
That is the standard failure mode. And it leads to what we call post-sabbatical turnover. People come back, get overwhelmed, realize they hate the grind, and quit within 3 months.
So how do you prevent that? What does a 30, 90-day reboarding plan actually look like?
It starts with a phased return. Maybe the first week is no external meetings, just catching up. But the most important part is the knowledge download.
A PowerPoint on my summer vacation.
Not quite that elementary, but yes, essentially. You schedule sessions where they present what they learn. I traveled through Southeast Asia and noticed this trend, or I took this AI course, here's how we can apply it.
It validates their time away. It signals to the team that they're back as a contributor.
And it re-engages the employee. It integrates their new self with their old job. You also need to clarify the role. Are they returning to the exact same seat? Or just a comparable level?
Good point.
The reboarding plan has to navigate those team dynamics.
We have to be realistic, though. Some listeners are running, say, a 10-person startup. They're thinking, I cannot spare my lead dev for 3 months, period. The business stops. Is this just a big company luxury?
Not necessarily, but you have to adapt the model. Römer outlines alternatives for when long breaks aren't feasible. You don't have to go all or nothing.
So what are the light versions?
One is short-term leave. Instead of 3 months, you offer 2 or 3 weeks of protected time for a mini reset. Another is funded learning.
Paying for growth instead of paying for time.
Right. You might not give them time off, but you can pay for that $5,000 certification. It scratches that itch for investment. Or you can do flexible schedules like compressed work weeks. Take every Friday off for 6 months.
A pressure release valve instead of a system shutdown.
Yeah.
It seems like the common thread here, whether it's a full year off or a flexible Friday, is intent.
That is the core philosophy.
It's about the company signaling, we view you as a long-term asset, not a battery to be drained and discarded.
That's it. In a knowledge economy, your inventory goes home in the elevator every night. If you don't maintain that inventory, it breaks. A sabbatical policy is just scheduled maintenance for your high-performance engines.
It transforms a benefit into a business lever.
You get better retention, you get the stress test on your operations, you get a more innovative workforce. The ROI is there if you're willing to look past the initial cost.
It forces you to take the long view in a very short-term world.
And that brings us to a provocative thought about the future. We're seeing AI handle more of the rote tasks. Human value is increasingly in creative synthesis.
Which are the exact things that degrade when you're burned out.
Correct. So here's the question. In 10 years, will a sabbatical even be considered a perk? Or will it be a mandatory productivity tool? If we know disconnected time improves creative output, can a high-performance company afford not to force their people to take breaks?
That is a great question. Maybe the future isn't asking for permission to leave, it's being required to leave, just so you can actually do your job when you come back.
Mandatory downtime for the human operating system. I think that's exactly where the data is pointing us.
Well, that gives us plenty to think about. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone listening to the SmartKeys podcast. We know your time is valuable.
And if you found this analysis useful, please subscribe to the podcast. We are constantly diving into the future of work and sauce innovation, and we'd love to have you along for the ride.
And if you want to see the specific policy templates, the detailed benchmark data from Adobe and Intel, or read the full analysis by Felix Römer, check the link in the show notes. It is all there on smartkeys.org.
Definitely worth a read if you're planning to pitch this to your executive team. You'll want those charts.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.